Good evening. Today is the 19th of November, the day after our class this week on Wednesday, which is just awesome. Today we introduced the elevations for our project, and what I'm going to be doing now is actually creating it for you and making a video. This is both the north and south elevations. Now with Jazz. Anyway, what we're going to do and how we're going to do this is we're going to start with our section. However, before I even do anything, I want to explain what I did before you got here and before I started recording. For the sake of simplicity, I put a picture of each of the handouts that you were given, just realizing now that I am missing one. One moment. That's better. Anyway, now that I have all 5 sheets here, I also put the last slide from the presentation on here. I want to point one thing out to you. I'm not the one who created this presentation, and there is an issue with this slide. Nothing crazy and nothing that you couldn't get past, but specifically it is with the elevation roof and wall line weights. It is at 15 thousandths. However, if we were to look at our options for what we can do, just zoom in here so we can see a little bit better. It jumps from 14 thousandths to 16 thousandths. Now, for the purposes of this, you can really do either. However, I am just going to use 14 thousandths and call it a day. Oops, wrong keys, and I'm flying around. It has been one long day. Anyway, I'm just going to erase this slide because I don't need it anymore, and it is taking up some memory. Anyway, the first step for me is to save this as, and I already did that. For me, I'm saving it as my last name, M7 and 8. I'm going to zoom in on this for you guys. M7 and 8 north and south elevations.dwg. Excuse me, I'm coughing a lot. If you're going to do what I do here today, this is how I want you to submit your DWG file or your drawing file as both. However, if you're going to submit them separately, which you certainly can, and I will absolutely accept, you can do M7 south elevation and M8 north elevation. That's what you would be changing here. All right. Now let's actually get started. The first thing I want to do, I have my section in here. I'm going to need to load my floor plan and my foundation plan. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the view tab. I'm so sorry, not even the view tab, the insert tab. Here we go. And click on insert. One piece of feedback I did receive from people from both classes is zooming in a lot can be disorienting. So I'm not going to be doing it very often. Mainly if in those dialog boxes are calling out specific text. But the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on blocks from libraries, and I am going to navigate to where my files are saved. For me, New England Tech Resources, boom, 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 bing, bang, bop, founding residence. Here we go. I'm going to open up. First, I'm just going to open up my foundation plan. And down here, this all comes up. There is one piece that I want to point out, though. I want to select this first guy that shows up. I'm just going to click and drag it in. And now it's placed up here. I'll worry about moving this later. Next, I want to go back to my insert, blocks from libraries. I actually think this is already open. I want to select this option here, which it looks like this, I guess. I'm going to click on it and it'll open up this dialog again. I'm going to open up my floor plan drawing. Same kind of deal, let it load for a second, and then I can click and drag this in. And then you're safe to close your insert. What I want to do from here is I would like to draw my elevation where my section currently is. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select it and I'm going to move it over to the left. I'm going to take my floor plan and move it arbitrarily above it. Just about here feels good to me. I'm going to use array and then pull up with my orthographic on. Or then grab my foundation plan and then snap it up above it on that line. Get rid of it. Only reason this is here is so I can ray down each of these windows. I am hoping this is a higher quality for you all. I increased my quality for my recording output in multiple locations. So I just want to make sure that this is good quality for you guys as I can possibly get it. Anyway, I'm going to start with the south elevation, which is this first guy right here. So what I'm going to do, I need to start by giving myself some construction lines. So to do that, I am going to go back to my home tab, and I'm just going to be using my A elevation wall layer. And I'm just going to pull down lines from each of these corners here. I'm going to go to my building section and pull lines from each here. I need to represent my footing, my continuous footing around my building. I need to represent my grade line. So I'll just ray that over from the center. I'm also going to move this up by, I can estimate it right here. I'll move it up by 1 inch. Or by however much you need to move it up to make it equal the top there. I'm going to ray over the bottom of this line here. My siding goes right down to here. We can verify on this side here. I'm also going to ray a line from my fascia, the bottom and the top of my fascia board. Not this extension piece here, but the actual fascia intersection itself. Lastly, I'm going to ray a line from this point here. Mainly because this is a ridge vent and it may not go all the way along the length of the building. This is for representation as well. This is a more accurate height in terms of the building. If you remember from our section video, we exaggerated this distance. Anyway, I'm left with this kind of grid here. And what I would like to do is I'm going to use a trim command and get rid of some of this excess that I'm not going to need. And be able to continue. From here, I'm going to offset or do my offsets because I want to start on the bottom of my walls here. I would like to do my footings. I'm going to start with my footings. I would like to point out that a lot of what I'm going to be doing here, I'm going to draw it from my wall elevation and then change it to the proper layer after. This, for this purpose, is a good drawing technique or can be a good drawing technique, but there are plenty of times when you don't want to do that. In this case, it's quite all right. I'm going to offset 5 inches. Let me double check. Offset by 5 inches. Yep. I'm going to offset to the left, the right, to the left, and to the right. I'll explain why in a moment, but I'm going to trim. Boom, boom, oops. Boom, boom. Bang, 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 and do an extension. You can see when I'm holding shift, and then I'm going to get rid of that. I'm also going to remove this extension line here. What I'm going to do now, I'm just going to draw a ray up from each of these points so I can show you where they actually go, and that I'm not just making this number up. This ray will go up all the way up and it will meet our actual foundation footing line. Continuing here, and then all the way down here. So this is where we want it. I'm going to erase those lines. And I'm good to continue. What I may do here is actually just select this and then change my layer to my A elevation foundation. Another piece I'd like to mention is we're going to be plotting this at 1/4 inch equals a foot. So I'm going to go down to the bottom left here and then change this from 1/2 inch to 1/4 inch equals a foot. I'm going to do a quick RE for regenerate. And we can see it shifted a little bit, but it's not quite right. I'm going to do LTS for my line type scale. I'm going to set it to 1. There we go. Now that looks more accurate. For simplicity's sake, I'm actually going to erase or get rid of this installation lines because it's looking quite big. But anyway, I'm good to continue. I'm almost done with my foundation. I'm going to quickly trim out this line here because this is below the grade. And I'm also going to, quite literally, extend it again down. Do a match properties. And then I have like, just like this, I have the dashed line for all of my footings. Again, I just trimmed this out. So I basically split these lines from being one solid line to 2. Brought them back together so that each of these points are consistent. And then matched the properties, basically set each of these lines to be on that foundation layer again. And you will not be seeing the foundation layer being used again tonight. We're going to be just rocking forward. A totally valid thing you could do, because these lines do some junky or funky things, you can actually trim out those and draw an extension on either side and do a match. This is totally valid, but for the simplicity's sake, I'm not going to do it. Okay. I'm going to do the next piece of major massing. And when I say major massing, I mean like things that I need to change on the outside of the building. So the next thing I need to do in order to get this kind of offset here, because honestly, this shape is very simplistic, I need to bring out my roof plane by a foot. So I'm going to do that. I'm just going to do an offset of 1 foot to either side and do a simple fillet there and here. I'm going to extend this line out and do a quick trim, and trim, as well as another trim there. I'll erase this line and this line. I'm also going to quickly trim this and extend that over and trim this and delete those. This is the fascia board. This right here is representing this. And I'm able to continue. Last thing I need to do for major massing on the exterior is my chimney. I'm just going to do a quick ray from the top corner, the chimney on the interior of my building. And then for this one, I'm just going to do a simple line up, over, down, and then erase this stuff. Now I've been losing the plot a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a match properties with my chimney here, just like so. And I'm just going to look at my drawing here and determine what I need to actually set as my roof layer. It is literally just this one line for my fascia board. So I'm going to select this guy and then set this layer to be my roof. Now you may also notice that there's quite a bit of these lines that are going to get quite thick using a outline. I am going to do that afterwards. There's a couple things I need to actually do, but there's nothing really major. Nothing really. Most of this stuff is just going to be on this standard layer. Next thing I want to do is I want to add this trim in, which is a 6-inch board. I'm going to do an offset of 6 inches. I did explain in class today why we do to the left and the right of this interior side, but I'll do a brief explanation again. Essentially, the reason why we do it on either side here, I'm also just going to trim this bottom line out too. The main reason we do it on either side, on these two in particular, is because this is a break in the wall right here. We would have trim on this corner and this corner. So we would see trim board here and we would see trim board here. Cool. Looks good. What I am going to do actually now is I'm going to make one of these lines my elevation outline line. and then do a simple match properties with a lot of these. I'll just double check. Yeah, so I'm basically gonna do the basic outline of my roof, each of these vertical lines, and this horizontal. I'm gonna do that. I already have most of the outline of my roof. Now all of the outline of my roof, these basic vertical lines, and this top piece. If I was to turn on my layer visibility, I can see that that line is definitely thicker. Obviously it won't plot to be that thick, but it's nice to think about it. Anywho, I'm going to continue on by doing the windows along my foundation here. Main reason being, they're at the lowest point and I just kind of want to do them now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to my foundation. I'm going to do array command. And actually, I'm going to change my current layer to my window layer because I'm going to be working in this for a moment. Do either side of this first window and then just on the left side of the remaining. Like so. Looks good to me. And I will also just double check. Yeah. So a way to tell that I know I need to be doing this, this thickness for each of these lines looks the same as the thickness for each of these lines, which looks we're right around where I want it to be. This looks different than my wall line is what I'm trying to say. So now that I have this line set here, I am good to continue drawing. I am going to simply draw a line here and here. I'm going to erase those. So I basically just gave myself a guide here. I'm going to draw a line across the top and then move it down by 1.5 inches and do an offset of 1.5 inches inward on either side of this. This is a hopper window and this is in the basement. These are tagged as G on our floor plan. And those are these guys right here. Manufactured by Tafco. Next thing, I made one, so I'm going to copy it and then paste it at each of these other points. And remember, I drew this ray down to the left side of each of them, so I can just run with that. I hope you understand how quickly this goes. It's been 17 minutes and I'm already this far in. Excuse me. My next step is I would like to draw my door. And I have my guidelines for my door down here, so I'm actually going to just zoom in and put this on my left so I can review that as I'm going. I'm going to set my current layer to my A elevation door, and I'm just going to start going. It is 3 feet wide, and it is 6 feet 8 tall. I know that to be true. And just go so. I'm going to draw a line vertically down the center because I know it is mirrored. Excuse me. I'm going to do some offsets from here. I'm going to offset a line. I'm going to do my verticals as far as I can go to start. I'm going to offset a line down by 4 9/16. Straight down. I'm going to offset a line from here by 6 inches. And then 4.5. And then 3 feet 4 and I believe 5/8. Yep, 3 feet 4 and 5/8. And this is this dimension right here. However, I'm using the text that says select object to be my pointer. It goes from the top of the door to the bottom of this line. So I'm just going to do all the way down like that. And then offset by 9 5/8. And this bottom one is just 8 inches from the actual bottom. That's looking pretty good. I can kind of see very visibly my panels. I'm going to offset in by 5 5/8. And I need to offset by 4.5. However, my center line's in the middle of that, so I have to divide it by 2. It's going to be 2 1/4. And I'm going to do something that I hope you follow. I'm just going to grab my rectangle tool and then trace out where these will end up going. I can clearly say I missed a piece. Bring that down. And I'm going to delete all of these guidelines I just created. I'm just gonna move this back, so I'm leaving this right here. Next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna offset by 1 1/8 of an inch. I will zoom in for these actually. Main reason we did rectangles is because I can just do the entire thing at once. I don't have to do any kind of funky trimming or anything like that. Grab my line tool and then just do each of these corners like so. I'm only gonna do the left side because then I can just mirror it. Oops. Zoom out a tad and then grab all of those. Do a mirror command like so. Then grab all of these. Do a mirror command so. I'll delete that center line. I do have a note saying that the doorknob is a 2-inch diameter, has a 2 3/8 inch back set, and it shows 3-inch casing all around all doors. I know it doesn't get actually shown on the drawing, so I'm actually gonna ignore that. And my center line of my doorknob is 36 inches above the bottom of the door. I'm gonna do an offset of 36 inches up like so. And I'm just gonna do a quick offset of 2 3/8 inch. 2 3/8. And do a circle command. It is a 2-inch diameter, so I'm gonna do a 1-inch circle. And there you have it. There is that door. On here, I also have call out for side lights. I am gonna draw them right here. I could draw them in situ, which means while it's on the actual drawing, but I may as well do it right here while I have this drawing right next to me. I'm gonna do an offset of 3 inches. Just like so. I'll change it to a window layer after. Offset of 1.5. Let me think. I actually need to offset this by 12 inches, and I'll show you why in a moment. For a full foot. Grab my rectangle tool, and just draw a rectangle along that. I just like to make it easier on myself wherever I can. And then from here, I'm gonna do an offset of 1.5 inches. Like so. And I'm going to confirm this should be 1.5 inches, and this should be 9 inches. And then this should also be 1.5 inches. And that is how we want it. That looks good to me. I'm going to take this. I'm going to change this to my A elevation window layer successfully, and then just mirror it over to the other side. Here we have it. Here's our door with our side lights. That is superbly easy. What I'm going to do from here is I'm just going to draw a ray from the center line of this door. I'm just going to pick at any point of this because I know that's accurate to the center of this door. Also do from that node, also accurate. However, I'm going to have concern about placing it vertically. I know for a fact, also because there's a note somewhere on here. There's a note on one of these 2 pages or somewhere on here. Okay, well, here's a typical thing. The height of your door is 6 feet 8 inches for this project in particular, above the top of your finished floor. Just like so. I can just do a simple ray from the top of this doorway in here that I already drew. And now I have this kind of like cross in here. This crosshairs, you can even imagine it. I'm going to select this, pull a copy command, copy it from the central top of my door, turn off my ortho, and I'm going to snap it right to the top of that cross and erase my guides. This is where I want it. What I will do is I'm going to go back to my A elevation wall layer because I need to create a couple steps to get up here. All I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in a little bit to show you a little bit better. A line from the center of this door and go down to the top of the grade, which is, again, represented by this line for now, which we will change a little bit later. I'm going to grab this guy right here. I am going to use a divide command. So, and divide it 3 times because there's 3 steps. I'm confirming that based on this right here. Looks good to me. I am going to draw a line which is 3 feet long. Straight down to here. I'm even just going to copy this and paste it. And I'm going to copy each of, or all of this, and then mirror it along this. Oops, I do not have my ortho on. Let me just make sure that's on. Mirror it along this central axis. Delete my nodes and that guideline and trim out that over. Just like so. And that is how we want to see. Continuing on, we need to just do the windows which are sitting on the front of our building. Just like so. Let me just take a sip of my drink. Perfect. What I'm going to do, these windows widths should be accurate. I'm just going to pull array down to the left and the right of this guy, and then just the left of each of the remaining ones that are titled A. B, I will do both again. But again, A, just that side. Perfect. From here, I'm going to consult my window schedule. My window marked A. I'm just going to highlight it. It is double hung. It is sized as 3 feet 5 and 5/8 wide by 4 feet 4 and 7/8 of an inch tall. That means something to me. Also, something I needed to point out. The top of our windows will match the top of our door. I'm going to do an X line from the top here, because it'll draw a line to the left and to the right. And I'm going to set my window layer as current. I'm going to take this line and copy it. What was the dimension again? I think it was 4 feet 4 and 7/8. I'm going to copy this line downwards, 4 feet 4 and 7/8. I'm ignoring this window for now. And focusing right here. Now I'm going to use my rectangle tool and just draw me a shape. I'm going to leave this top line on for now. It'll help me in a bit. I'm going to offset in 1.5 inches. And I'm going to draw a line that goes straight across, offset it. I'm just going to offset this up too because it feels more accurate. Now, because I was saying this earlier, I'm going to offset it by 1.5 inches. Typically, this would be a little bit bigger, but I'm not going to be too anal about it. And then I'm going to draw my cross pattern here. I am then going to offset this around. I can just double check it on here by 3.5 on all sides, except for down here, but I'll worry about that in a moment. Offset by 3.5 inches. Boom. I'm going to trim this bottom line. And I'm going to erase those two guidelines. I don't need them anymore. I know this is vertically 1.5 inches down from here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line, 1.5. And then just bring it to each of the two ends here. And draw a line here and here. Trim these guys out. Trim. Trim. And a lengthen command and a delta of 1. Just extend these out by 1 inch. And cap these off. Again, this is 1.5 inches deep and 1 inch extra on these sides. 1.5 inches deep, 1 inch extra. That's what we're doing here. And again, I got one window done, so I can copy it. Just keep in mind that this is the point that I'm copying it from. And paste at each of these intersections where the A window is, which is 4 total on the front. And get rid of those lines. Now the next thing I want to do, I want to draw this window right here. Now this is a picture window. How deep is it? That's going to help me. It is marked B. My B picture window is 4 feet 11 and 7/8 deep. I'm going to take my line here and copy it. 4 feet 11 and 7/8. Looks good to me. I'm going to copy this drawing of this window A into here. Now there is some modifications I have to do before I do anything else to like stretch it. I'm going to remove all of this. I'm going to trim this here and this here, mainly because I'm just going to extend this up. And this is a picture window, meaning there's no operations. There's nothing that's operable. It's just gonna be a flat panel like so. So all I need to do from here is I need to use the stretch command. Make sure I am grabbing basically this half of my window. Confirm my selection, grab from here, and then just pull to there. Same thing, select basically the bottom half. Here, down. Get rid of my lines. Now, isn't that just something special? I'm gonna draw, the next thing I'm gonna draw is I'm gonna draw my poly line. And I'm just gonna draw it right along the bottom here. I'm gonna delete this guideline, and I'm gonna make sure this is set to my A grade layer, or my A elevation grade layer. Oh, it changed on me. And I'm gonna do P-edit, P-E-D-I-T, enter, select my polyline, change my width to 8 inches. I'm gonna grab my polyline, I'm gonna move it down by 4 inches. This is so my windows and everything like that, this polyline, this is, the top of it is where my grade is. So cool, looks good to me. If you want to be anal about these two sides matching properly. Alright, I kind of feel like an idiot. I paused the recording for a second to test something. And you may notice that this is here, and you may notice that this got shifted a bit. Yeah. I may have paused it and then not realized it was paused and then finished it. However, I will not let that deter me. Let's just pick up right where we left off. One thing I want to point out, I'm not going to redo it. You're just going to want to put these back in. You need to scale them up ×2. I need to do a jog on this here. Literally just did a line. And all these need to line up. It's a very simple concept. You can just grab one of these. And once you bring it over, you just scale by 2, and then Bob's your uncle. Just use what you've already created to help you. Oh man. Also, you may notice that I may have said this already, but you may notice that the quality is increased because I just realized that I've been scaling my recording down from my 4K resolution monitor to a 1080p output resolution. Oh my god, would 4K resolution help so much with this? And so, let's continue, shall we? And I just spilled all over myself. I will be right back. God. Dang it. Can I even pause it? It's not even giving me the option to pause it anymore. Okay, well, I guess I'll just... I suppose I will just have some soda on myself. And we will carry on, because I can't pause anymore. Don't know why changing my resolution of my screen removes the pause recording button. But here we are. Anyways, after this... Oh, I completely lost where I'm at. Anyways, I'm just going to go and I'm going to use my A elevation siding layer, because I'm going to do my siding on my building. You may notice that the siding right here looks kind of strange in how there are these cut lines. Back in the Stone Age when Paul Champagny was birthed, this is a joke, back in the Stone Ages when we still drew by hand, we did this to save time. However, we have the technology and therefore I'm going to represent this fully. Showing them with these cuts like this is not wrong. Showing them the way I'm about to is not wrong either. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my hatch command and I'm going to go down to my drop down down here and go to the user defined font. Jeez Louise. And it's the very last font in the list. I'm going to select it and I'm going to click inside each of these 3. Now, the quirk about the user-defined font is you can change the actual scaling of it. Just up here, I can change this to 5 to be 5 inches. And I'm like, this is perfect. This is exactly what I want. Except for one small detail. We can kind of see that this distance here isn't the same as this. And that's not great, because this distance needs to be 5 inches. So how do you fix that? I'm going to grab my hatch again. And I'm going to change set origin and click on the very bottom left. And you can see it scoots up. It doesn't matter the top isn't there. That is what we need. Because if we're recalling from earlier, it's in the way, our siding, we start our course in the very bottom and we work our way up. That's just how something like this gets built. Next up, I'm going to change my layer to my A, not that one, change my layer to my A elevation hatch. And I am going to go into my drop down and I'm going to find ARB88 and click up there. Same thing, select it, set origin, bottom corner. I'm going to do another hatch just right in there, and I'm not concerned about what hatch style it is. I'm going to use what I've created before, and I'm going to match the properties from this to here. And yeah, we're looking really good. There's only one thing we really need to do left on this piece, and that is going to be our notes. So I'm just going to go through and I'm going to do them. There is going to be one difference on here from what we actually, one difference from on here than what we're going to be doing. And that is going to be this piece right here, because this would be covered up by our roofing hatch. So I'm just going to do my multi-layer, select just down here and up. And I know this is going to be asphalt shingles on 15-pound building felt. Asphalt shingles on 15-pound building felt. Next up, at the very peak, is going to be continuous ridge vent. Scooch way over to the left here. I'm just going to double check my stuff here. So I need to call out my 6-inch trim, clapboard siding, and my treated fascia board. So I'm going to click right here. 1x8 treated fascia board. 6-inch trim. They're just knocking on the room next to me. I just love that so much. And I'm just gonna do my clapboard siding. Now, we would be lining these up. However, for the sake of brevity, I will not be doing that. I also need to do one right here. I believe it is provide window wells as required. As required. Just like that is fine. And I believe the very last piece is going to be this 1 foot dimension. I'm also just going to match the properties of this just to make sure that the layer is proper. It looks good. Okay. This is our completed elevation. This is our completed south elevation. This took 40 minutes to do, mainly because I had to do it twice. But anyways, this looks really good. Well, you may be asking, what's next? Well, that is going to be our north elevation, or whichever one I said was the other one. Whatever. I need to do my other elevation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab each of these for my own sake. I'm just going to copy it over. And I'm going to rotate this by 180 degrees. Because it needs to be flipped completely around. Same thing with this one. and I'm going to do my F8, and again, I'm going to line this up. There's only 2 of these vents I need to do down here. And I'm going to move these guys. First, I'm going to delete that. I'm going to move these images here so I have them still. I'll keep all this junk here. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take all of this, do a mirror command. So it looks like this. Form array down from this corner. Grab all of this, and I'm going to align it with that ray. What I will do, however, I'm going to delete that, and I'm just going to take all this and then copy it over. I'm going to get rid of my text on here. I can actually double check to make sure if there is any. I'll just copy it over. Well, actually, I may as well leave the text on there. And for my own sake, I'm just going to mirror it all again. Looks the exact same. And just actually delete it this time. There are things I need to change though. I'm going to leave the roof as is. Looks great. Actually, you know what? No, I need to delete this. I'm just remembering now. I need to delete the hatch. I'm going to get rid of the hatch on both of these. I need to erase this and this. Because again, I'm not going to see it here because this is a flat wall. I'm going to get rid of all of my windows here, including those vertical lines and my doors. All this. This line. However, you may notice we have a wonderful start already. We're looking phenomenal on this one. All I need to do is realistically the chimney and these windows, and then we're good. That's all we need to do for this. It's so good. I don't want to say easy, but it's so good. I want to do these bottom windows first, though, and then I'll do this chimney, but I'll worry about that later. I'm also going to remove that hatch in there. Go up to here, and I'm just going to ray down one of these corners each times again, because I already have these windows completed. I'm going to copy this from here, corner, to here, to here. I'm actually going to remove this line and then just extend this all the way out there so I have one continuous line across the bottom. Also, by the way, the wonderful idea to save. Wonderful idea to save. So, looks good so far. Erase these 2 guidelines. And the first thing I want to do is this. I'll do these windows to start. Now, these 2 windows on the left that are these guys, these are window class D, but I need to create new ones. I'm just going to ray down on either side. And then just one down one of the sides, because I know I can just copy it over. These are all different, and this is different. However, what I will do, I'm just going to bring one line down for that. And I'm going to select my A. And literally just copy this over twice. I'm going to copy it to right here. And I'm going to copy it way out here. I know my D is... That's actually the one. This is going to be a double hung window as well. So I'm just going to stretch this inwards. I'm going to grab all of that from a stretch command. Stretch it in like this. I will actually have to delete each of these and then redraw this. Make my layer current. Bang. Bang. I will have to do these horizontal ones as well. I'm just going to delete those first. I should just checked. The height of A is 4 feet 4 and 7/8. The height of D is 4 feet 0 and 7/8. Okay, that's fine. I'm just gonna give myself a guideline. 4 feet 0 and 7/8. Like so. Bring this line all the way over. Okay. I have to remove this as well. So I have to remove all of that. but still, we're saving some time. From here, I'm just going to erase these guides, offset in 1.5 inches. Again, we've done this already. I'm going to offset, or I'm going to draw a line across this guy right here. I'm also going to do a line straight down. Offset a line by 1.5 inches up. Trim, extend, trim, extend. And then draw a line across, trim. Then I'm going to take this and copy it. This next one. I'll erase that one for A. It's looking good. I'm going to skip the door for now. I have these windows. So I have F, E, and F again. This is going to be a little different, however, so let's just follow along. What I will do, because it's an operable window on the left and the right, and it's a picture window in the center. Not going to be too bad. What I will do is I'm going to grab this window right here, I copy it from this point, and bring it right to here. Delete all of the innards like before, I can just redraw it. Stretch command, like the left half or the right half of it. Bring this all the way to the other side. Honestly, I'm just going to get rid of these two guides. And the height of this window, which is E and F, correct? Yes. The height of these windows, according to here, E and F, these are 5 feet 4 and 13/16. I'm going to round to the 5 feet 4 7/8. It'll work. I'm going to just draw a line across, move this down, 5 feet 4 7/8. Bring this line all the way back over, stretch this, straight down. I'm going to draw a line at this point here and here. I'm actually going to work on this one, and then I'm going to mirror it over. And I'm going to just consult my page here, just to make sure things are looking good. Yeah, so this is how it's supposed to end up looking. And so far, so good. I'm going to offset by 1.5 inches. And I'm okay with that going all the way around. Offset that in there. I'm going to trim this corner and this piece, because this interior one needs to be this as well. Offset this one inside by 1.5 inches, and I'm just going to fillet this in. And just to give myself a little bit more done here, just separate that. Fillet. Here we go. Not letting me, so I'm just going to have to trim it. I love technology. Sometimes it just doesn't let you do something, so you have to force it to do it for you. Doing this, and that, like so. And this is looking good so far. I need to do, like, this central window is done. I'm just going to draw a line across. We've done this before. Offset by 1.5 inches, straight up. Trim this guy here. If seem like I'm going faster, I know I am, but this shouldn't be too crazy for you. Grab this like that. And I will literally just select this pane here, perform a mirror command to the other side. That window's done. That window looks the way it's supposed to look. Now, isn't that just so wonderful? Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this door here. I have the notes for it right up here. I'm just going to array it down. My left side, my right side. And, I mean, I can find my center pretty easily. I'm going to array over the top of my doorways. And also the bottom. I know it's 6 feet 8. That's fine. I'm going to draw a rectangle in there. And I'm just going to get rid of my guides. I'm going to set this to be my door layer. I'm going to offset this inwards. Personally, I'm going to offset it in by 4 inches. Draw a line down the center, going all the way to either side. Offset it by 2 inches on either side. And then I'm going to, let me just double check here. I'm gonna prioritize this one being on top. You could do either or realistically. I'm gonna set my wall layer to be my current layer, and I'm just gonna draw a simple step, which is 3 feet wide. Reason I'm doing it such as this is because I know, I'm just gonna line up with this end here. Draw a line down to the, okay, it should be 1 foot. What was the dimension here? 1 foot and 5/8. The top of my foundation plus 8 inches. So it should be 1 foot 8 5/8. Okay, here's a better way. I'm just gonna copy over my line work for this one, for this stair earlier, because it's gonna be the same process. And I'm gonna line it up pretty close. Draw lines down. I love technology. It's gonna be 1 foot. I'm just gonna have to draw it here. 1 foot 8 5/8. Is my math not correct? What's my reveal height? Mama. Oh, because this is technically not correct. Whatever, 7 inches. I can just shorten this by an inch. Fine. This is gonna work fine. Just get it down to this point. Honestly, your best bet is gonna be this. Ignore what I just did, please. Just take the stair you made, copy it over, and in a real world, this would be operable on both sides. Trim out the interior. You're good. That looks good to me. You could always simply just stretch it, be shorter. Using the stretch command to also like quasi move it. In my case, I'm gonna do it. I'm eyeballing it. I'm not too worried. That would get designed later because there's not even dimensions on this. So fine. Anyways, I also need to do a 3-inch offset around the door, except for the bottom. Make current. Except for the bottom. I'm literally gonna do the exact same thing that we did with the windows, but an offset of 1.5 inches, lengthen DE of 1 inch. Boom, boom, boom. Copy. Sorry. Copy 1.5. I'm gonna just drop this line down. I'm actually gonna delete that and then send that line over. Works for me. That's looking really, really good. Let me just double check. Okay, one last thing we need to do before we hatch it again. We need to bring our chimney down. In order to do that, I'm just gonna simply go to this drawing here, my section, and just ray a line from this point here. I'm gonna trim this out, extend these two out, fillet these edges, match properties, and I'm gonna do a simple hatch command. This is gonna be the quick way of doing this. I'm just gonna do a quick hatch command. Click in there, escape a few times, hatch command. Click in here, escape a few times, hatch command. Click in here, escape a few times. Now I'm gonna do my match property command. Click here and then here. Match property here and then here. I missed. Here and then here. Match property here and then here. Last thing, I'll start with this bottom one. I'm gonna select this, set origin to the bottom left. Select this, set origin, bottom left. Now, isn't that just peachy? That is what I want to see. This is our south, or this other elevation. Done. I'm gonna grab this and move it in a little bit to make it look a little bit better. Now from here, all you need to do is you need to put it on a sheet, an Arch D sheet. This is an Arch D, but you need to, okay, of course there's no Arch D on this page. You need to put it on an Arch D sheet and submit it to me on Canvas. Each of them separately on Canvas through PDF, and you need to send me the DWG file. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Be on the lookout for more videos and files. I may be uploading the end elevations sooner than I even assign the project. Thank you.